Welcome, dear listener, to the Secrets for a Happy Life podcast, born from my desire to share the knowledge I've acquired on leading a better life, interwoven with diverse experiences from my travels, years of studying psychology, and life lessons. I'm Petra Kmetec-Bitens, your guide on this journey on rediscovering joy, productivity, and the essence of living a fulfilled life.
I think a good one that we could perhaps talk about today is around change, and how that came about is really I was talking to someone and they said something along the lines that, well, it's quite difficult to change after a certain age because our mind is and our brain is kind of fixed. And I think a lot of people, and for many years I used to believe that, I think it's kind of out there in the society, these beliefs that a lot of us pick up that, as we grow up, we develop our body, our mind, our brain, everything, and then we kind of plateau and nothing happens after. But this definitely is not the case, but a lot of people, I believe, still carry that belief without actually questioning it. And I think that could make for an interesting topic if you're up for it to see what actually happens and how does change happen. Does it stop at any age? Is it possible? How do we go about it?
So I think all of this belief is actually coming out of Freudian era, because he was the one who was teaching people that after a certain age, I think it was around 25 years of age, you are becoming more of what you are. So, but all of this was debunked because our personality, our habits can change, and due to neuroplasticity, we saw that our brains are constantly developing, changing, and if we are willing to change, we can change. But if we don't do anything and we just go into the story, I am who I am, this is me, I cannot change, then of course you cannot change. So I think we can link everything to the belief system that we have. And also I heard some psychologists talk about this, and she beautifully said that if we ask people about their values, what are their values, and if they're doing enough for these values in their own lives, perhaps your really high value is family, and then are you do you spend enough time, energy, with your family, for your family? And if the answer is no, then this is something that you can look forward to. How can I change not to work all the time, but spending time with family also? So I think those kind of questions around why, around value systems, around your own beliefs, questioning your own beliefs, can really make us change, not when we are forced to, when some life happens to us and we need to change because we are forced, but because we want to.
So many great thoughts and many things to pick up on. I love that. But starting from what you started with, I think Freud wasn't really wrong. The missing part is the willingness to change. So if the willingness is not there, we do indeed become more of what we are, because we continue down the same path, right? So neurons that fire together wire together. And so the more you do the same thing, right, it becomes automatic. But so in that way, he was right. And I think perhaps what's shifting now, not only we know scientifically it's been proven that it is possible, but also I guess people are embarking on the journey of self-discovery, are asking themselves those questions. Am I actually living in line with my values? Is there anything missing? And knowing that they know now that change is possible, then there is an opportunity to go and explore
I think we live in a bubble that I also believe that people are questioning their values. And am I living in line with my values? But when I get new clients, and I ask them about their values, they have no clue what that is. Most of them.
Oh, that's true. But at least they are coming to you, and that's probably something that was not happening 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? So something brings them to you, to me, to other people, and then we ask them that question, and then they think, oh, hang on a second, let's I don't know what my values are, and then we help them figure it out, and then they can see that there is a gap.
Yeah, and the best way to get to know somebody's values isn't like just asking what are your core values, because many people cannot even recognize them. But if you ask them, what do you want other people would say about you, you can get their core values. Like, what do you want somebody would say? Like, if they were talking about you, what do you wish that they would talk about you? What kind of person are you? And then you would hear their core values.
That's a good tip. So yeah, people who are listening to us, you can ask yourself that. Another one that I have a different approach to that is paying attention to what gets you really angry. Because we get angry when our core values are triggered or rather threatened. So if something goes against it, we get quite angry. So that's another way to locate them.
Yeah, and I would say change is not easy. Change is not easy, but it's doable, and we can do it. Because if you look at it, we can always learn a new language. We can always learn some new skill. We can start playing piano when we are 90 if we're still alive. So it's not that we cannot change, we cannot learn, but it's the willingness to do it, and also embracing the possibility that it's gonna be tough. And I think knowing a little bit how the habits are formed, how can we change the habits, it's also helpful. So if we change a little bit, like 1% of our habit, really small, minor habits, I think we can change our whole life in 1 year.
Yeah, I think that's important. Managing the expectation that it's a process. It may not be super quick or super easy, and there will be ups and downs. Sometimes, even when installing a new habit, I can feel like, okay, I'm making great progress, and then suddenly you slide back. And it's okay. It's part of the process. The idea here is not to beat yourself up for it, but to recognize how far you've already come and just notice, okay, this happened, I can start over. And you're starting over not from zero, you're starting over from already whatever you invested in terms of effort and time into the process you're in. But if you start beating yourself up for the minor setback, that will push you back even further. So I would invite you to be compassionate to yourselves and say, okay, I'm still making progress, and that's fine. That's it. Progress is not linear like this. It's a bit wavy quite often.
And if we go back to your initial talk with that person, oh, I am who I am, I think this is just an excuse. Like, not willing to change, not willing to look deep into ourselves and just say, I am who I am, and this is the statement, I'm not willing to do anything. So how to shake that kind of a person a little bit up, how to show them that there is a possibility if they are not willing, I think we cannot do that. But maybe with ourselves, with our example, how we are changing, how we are approaching these kind of things, they can see it's possible, and maybe they will start to see a little bit of a light in the end of the tunnel and see that I can do that also.
You know, I think, yeah, you can't really shake anyone up, and in order for anyone to change, they need to want to change it. They can't change if their wife or husband wants them to change, or their partner, their father, mother, no one, unless the person wants to change themselves. And there should be something in it for them. And there is always something in it for them in staying where they are. That's why they're holding on to the idea, this is how I am, right? And here they bring in genetics and what have you, all the tools possible, because it is convenience. There is something in staying as it is for them, right? So the benefit of actually going through the discomfort of change has to outweigh for them the comfort of staying where they are. And yeah, we can't really go around slapping people and saying you need to change, and like, come on, it's possible. But indeed, sometimes I think by coming into contact with other people who have changed, it may affect people, and they realize, oh, actually something has shifted in that person, and maybe I can get over some of my limitations in life.
Yeah, but also if you look at your life, like how were you 10 years ago or 5 years ago, we can see that we are constantly changing. We are adapting to new lifestyles. It was a COVID era and we had to adapt, and we were changed because of that. So we are constantly changing, and maybe if we just point this out to somebody who says, oh, I cannot change, they can see that they already changed in last year, in last 2 years, and maybe this will give them an idea that it is possible, that we are changing all the times. And also I was reading a lot about what kind of personal traits are the most changeable throughout our lives. And I think our agreeableness, it's quite changeable. So we when we are aging, we become more agreeable with other people, and what is okay. But because if you look at our world today and all these hostile environment that are just spreading around the world, I think being more agreeable and tolerating towards others would be a really good shift. So yeah, bringing compassion in and towards ourselves and towards others.
Yeah, absolutely. Naturally, as humans, we do not like change. I think on some level our mind interprets it as potential risk and threat, right? Something unknown, so it's kind of safer to stay where we are. But of course, and a lot of people, when you even talk to them about change, even changing the place they live in or changing a job, a lot of people would choose to stay in a job that's not fulfilling because they know it and they think I may end up in even a worse one. They end up staying in relationships that are not fulfilling, again, out of similar kind of thinking. And I think one way to think about it is also, well, imagine if nothing ever changes in your life, For the rest of your life, you're wearing the same earrings, you're wearing the same dress or top or whatever you're wearing, you're eating whatever you had for breakfast this morning, you're drinking the same coffee, the weather is exactly the same, nothing changes, and you only interact with the same people you interacted today. How long will we enjoy that for? Probably not too long, right? So I think, yes, to your point earlier, that everything is changing, and I think that's the beauty of life as well. We all like to travel to different, most of us like to travel to different places, also to explore and to enjoy that different surroundings and environment, and try different food and talk to different people, and just
change is good. So don't be afraid of it. You never know what it's gonna bring in your life, but usually it's something better than it was before.
And so I think we touched upon how one can consciously enter into the change process through identifying the values and identifying that perhaps they have not been living in a way that is aligned with their values. What do you think are other ways that change is coming about in people's life?
Yeah, the other one is the forced change. So if maybe somebody loses the job, or they get really seriously ill, get cancer or something, or they end a really good relationship. They thought it's a good relationship and it's ending. And all of these life events that are really hard, they can show us where can we change, because we are always a part to blame for whatever happens. It's not usually okay. Sometimes life is not fair, but most of the times there are two who are dancing tango. And if we are willing to look into ourselves, what of my personal traits contribute to this kind of change, that to this event that I'm in right now, then we can start changing whatever we need to change to be where we want to be. And maybe this is through positive social interactions, or through therapy, or through learning some new skill, or through mindfulness or meditation. It doesn't matter. It's just you need to pick whatever works out for you. And also being willing to look deep into yourself. What is my trait that it would be good that I change this?
I like that. I think sometimes, when something like that happens, it really shakes us up. When you lose a job, or you lose a relationship, or even you're diagnosed with a serious illness, like the whole world gets shaken up for us. And I think some people just get into the victim mode almost, and I think it's natural in the beginning, just out of the shock of the situation. But then there is again a choice whether you stay in that and keep saying the world is unfair, life is unfair, why did this happen to me? Or one can reevaluate and see, well, what if it's an opportunity? What if I was actually staying in this job which was not that great for me, and maybe this is a great opportunity for me to have the balls to do some things that I always wanted to do. Or if that's a relationship, maybe that wasn't the right person for me, or maybe I contributed to this not working out. What can I do differently? So taking a step back and taking your responsibility, the ability to respond to the situation rather than just being the victim of it, that's where the true opportunity is. So
taking responsibility, and also making some plan what to do ahead. And let's don't go to these really big life events. And maybe if somebody wants to lose the weight or something, that's a little habits, if you implement them in your daily activities, like parking a little bit further than you usually park when you have to go to groceries, or taking steps instead of elevator. And these small changes in your daily routines, they are really helpful. I prepared some time ago one book around how to create lasting changes with your habits. I will put a link to the show notes later. And I really recommend, if you are into this kind of stuff, that you read the book How the Habits Are Formed, something like that. It's amazing because it talks about all the brain functions, how the habits are formed, which part of brains are involved in decision making in habit loops, and how we actually form a habit. And it's all, then he put it in one habit loop it's put together with cue. What is the cue for the habit? So if I see a chocolate, I'm gonna eat it, and this is my habit loop. And then the routine, it's I'm gonna eat the chocolate. And then the reward is I'm feeling fine afterwards because the chocolate gives me joy and pleasure. But if this is not something that is helpful for you, then you can change the routine. Instead of eating the chocolate, maybe you go for a run. When you see a chocolate, you go for a run. You do a 5 push-ups or something like that, and you will also feel good about it. Not maybe the reward has to be the same as it was before or even higher, otherwise you won't change the habit that you had before. So it's really a good book. It's nicely written, explained how the habits are formed, and with this kind of small steps we can really change our lives in a long term, and we can change ourselves.
I have to admit, I do want a chocolate right now, Petra, and I don't want to go for a run.
You had plenty of run today, so just eat that chocolate. You deserved it.
Yeah. But it's great, and I was also reading about how picking up on your point around how the brain works and all these habits are formed. The way the brain develops is also use dependent, and I like this phrase because it's really what you use and how you use it. That's what's becoming kind of wired in and becomes the shortcut, the default settings. So it's good news and it's bad news again, depending whether you consciously utilize this knowledge and you choose how you want to use your brain and your mind and how you program it, or you just fall into that unconscious loop of what you've been doing for many years, and just then wonder why things happen to you.
They don't happen to you. Yeah, but if you look at it like that, everything happens to me. Oh, I'm the poor guy, I'm the victim. Then your life is miserable. So choose the positive approach. I always think about it. If something is bothering me, what can I do to improve it? Or if there is nothing that I can do about it, then okay, just switch your thinking to something else and put your focus to something that it's in your power to control, to change, to have influence on. And usually this is us.
Well, I think also Viktor Frankl, you were just quoting him the last few days, and I think that's what he talks about a lot, basically what his whole work narrows down to is really the only thing you have control over is the way you respond to whatever is happening in life. You can be thrown into the worst circumstances and you have nothing that you can do about it, but you can change the way you think about it and the way you
and what kind of meaning you give to this suffering that you endure. And helping others, I think, is also a good way. If you end up in this kind of really hard situations, in every kind of life situation, helping others is something that gives us hope, that gives us these good positive feelings, and in a kind is selfish because we feel good about that, but also the others who are receiving help are in the better part if it's not forced help, if they really want this help.
Is there anything else you wanted to mention about change? Anything that comes to mind?
I think we covered it all. Just to know that it is possible, that we are not fixed in our lives, but we can change. It's a lot of things we have power over, and if we believe we can change, we can change.
Yeah, and we have a comment that I want to read, Petra. The comment is, in my opinion, I think a person is not changing because they defend their personality and opinions, not because they are not convinced that we can change, because through our life we change in every way. I agree. And well, I think some people genuinely believe that they cannot change after a certain age. There is that too. But I think for both those people and people who know change is possible and choose not to change, they are indeed defending the personality, the opinions, and all of that is really what the personality, and my mentor Gabor Mate talks about it a lot. He says that our personality is really just, most of it, it's adaptation to our early environment, right? So the people who are really nice to everyone, we think of it as a personality, right? But that's an adaptation. They had to be nice
in order to survive,
to be accepted by them. Exactly. So all of those are really what we think of as personalities, they are survival strategies from childhood, and because they're so linked to survival, we hold on to them for dear life, and of course we don't want to change it. It doesn't feel safe. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I think finding what it's defending would be the first or one of the early steps to getting to change, really.
Yeah, getting to know ourselves. Why? What are the strategies behind? What is it? Yeah, shielding us from? And it's always is something that is here for us. That we learned how to behave in order to get it through life a little bit better. So if we were punished because we were angry as girls, then we won't get angry when we are adults if we don't look into it and give ourselves permission and change this. So I think yeah, it's a good point. It's self-awareness again. So we always come back to self-awareness and getting to ourselves a little bit better.
And then also, that anger, for example, in your example, the anger that was not allowed to be felt or expressed, it still stayed in the body. So actually also recognizing that, dealing with that, and then learning a new pattern and learning that it is okay, that anger is a natural emotion, and whenever it arises, we can get in a relationship with it. We do not identify with it. It's not that I'm an angry person, but there is anger in me right now, and it is there for a reason. So what is it telling me? Not judging it, but also giving ourselves space to feel it. So learning new ways, and this is also change. But yeah, first comes
maybe we can talk next week about anger, because I think it's really an emotion that it's not spoken a lot of, and we don't understand it quite good from psychological points of view, and why it's good and how to safely express it, and that it's not harmful for other people and also not for ourselves. So yeah, I think this would be a good topic.
Well, great. Thank you guys for joining, for your questions and the comments, and feel free, whoever watches this in replay, please share your comments as well and questions. We will get back to you. And well, next week is going to be anger then, and if you have any questions or comments on that, do share so we can cover what's of interest.